Hi, this is Stanley from Centonomy and welcome to another Tutorial Thursday. This week we are going to be talking about how to afford a car. You know, everyone dreams of a car, yeah? It's one of those status symbols. It's a freedom. It's a sign of freedom. It's a sign of, you finally made it. You're making some little money here and there. You have a car. Question is, how do you afford it? Let's find out. Before we even get into the tips of affording a car, there's one thing I want to make categorically clear here. A car is not an asset from a wealth creation perspective. It's not an asset because it's taking money from your pocket. Either maybe you're paying a loan for it, or you're fueling it, or you're taking it to the garage. It's taking money from your pocket, not an asset. Unless it's either a taxi or maybe you lease it out or you hire it out to these companies that do that kind of thing. But otherwise, the car that you drive to work or you use to take your kids to class, not an asset. But with that in mind, the reality is we actually do sometimes, maybe for convenience sake, or maybe we like to travel. Like me, I like to travel, I like to drive, We want a car, we need a car, perhaps. But the question becomes, how do we make sure these cars are not driving us to poverty? Washake always says that there are very, very many people around the country, around the world, around Nairobi, who are on the highway to poverty in a very expensive car. So point number one, make sure your car is not driving you to poverty. Buy a car you can afford. Buy a car you can afford. Don't be afraid to stand out and say, I'm just gonna buy this car for now that is maybe worth 100,000 or 200,000 as I invest my money elsewhere. Okay, buy a car you can afford. Don't try and keep up with the Joneses or with your neighbors or with your family. Buy something that is actually going to build you financially. It's not going to kill your finances. Don't buy something that is too expensive for your budget. Point number two, nowadays there are so many car loans going around. It's become very easy to be financed. Very easy to get a car loan. Actually, any dealership you go to buy a car, they're always going to tell you, we can even organize financing for you. So what do we say about car loans? Number one, remember that especially a car loan, a car that you're using for, for your own use, for your own convenience, since it is not an asset, a car loan will technically be a bad debt. So how do you manage this loan? Pay it off as quickly as possible. That's the next thing. Pay it off as quickly as possible. And here we're even going to go as far as recommending a timeline. 3 years. You should not go beyond 3 years on your car loan. Okay? Remember that the longer you take the loan, the more you pay. So if you're offered 5 years, 7 years to pay off the loan, the payments per month may be quite small, but in the long run you've paid too much. So try and pay within the 3 years and even go beyond that. Go beyond that. Look at our previous tutorial Thursdays on debt. Go beyond that and make extra payments. If you are to pay 20,000 a month, pay 30, pay 40. Finish as quickly as possible. Next point when you're talking about your car is to keep it for as long as possible. In Nairobi, there's a running joke about cars that everyone is a car salesman. Everyone is selling their cars. Even when we are buying them, we are thinking of when we sell them. Resale value is always a big thing. But the advice we're going to give here at Centonomy is you should keep your car as long as possible. Even after you've paid off that loan, make sure you keep it as long as possible. 5, 7, even 10 years. Keep the car, maintain it well, so that even when you're not paying for a loan, you've used it for a much longer time. Centonomy is about value for money. Keep your car as long as possible. And basically, these are a few points that will help you to just make sure that you can afford that car. Buy a car you can afford. Pay it off as quickly as possible, make extra payments, keep the car for as long as possible, value for money, right? And that is what will allow you to afford that car. As always, like us, like our Facebook page, follow us on Twitter, subscribe to our blog and our YouTube channel. We love that you watch, and more importantly, we love that you comment here. Always comment. I'm really I really love when you tell me, what do you think this week's topic, these cars, what kind of car are you thinking of buying? What kind are you thinking of taking a loan? Ask a question, I'll answer it about your car. As always, see you next week on another Tutorial Thursday.